Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Deltana 55211 door viewer. This is a solid brass door viewer. Removing it from the packaging. Their extended description information does not apparently indicate that it is UL listed, even though the manufacturers, this client ordered 15 of them, so we've got a box of 12 and then 3 loose, even though the box indicates UL listing. And we'll discover if this is UL listed or if what they sent me was a substitute. Maybe there are 2 versions of it, although I doubt that's the case. So this is a door viewer that they state is going to work for doors that are 1 3/8 to 2 1/4. Remove it from the packaging here. 26D by the way, lots of different finishes. We'll touch on that in a moment. 1 3/8, yeah, for sure, that'd be no problem. Out to 2 1/4 with a maximum extension of 2 5/16. It's a large door viewer, and that's because of the 200-degree angle of view. But even in that regard, this is just simply a larger piece of equipment. Now, the fact that it's UL listed does not mean it's appropriate for use on a fire-rated door. There is a difference there. This does not indicate that it is listed for use on a fire door. What I heard someone say years ago, my toaster is UL listed, but that doesn't mean it's fire-rated. That'll certainly get you out to a 2 1/4-inch thick door. Shaft diameter is 9/16 with a 200-degree field of view. There's nowhere on here that's 9/16. The diameter of the body, my caliper is telling me 0.618 or 617, 0.617. Certainly heavy on 5/16. Pardon me, 9/16. I would say that we're going to be 19/32 in that range of what this would actually measure here. Okay, they do say that it's solid brass. I have no reason to refute that. This piece is obviously not magnetic, which tells me it's not steel. None of this is magnetic, so I would certainly agree that it is solid brass. The packaging doesn't give me any other information in terms of the base material. 26D does not accurately tell me whether or not it's brass or steel, but their description says that it's brass, so let's roll with it. There's no reason to question it. There is a link below this video to a document called Cut Sheet, and that will give you the dimensional properties of the item for you to review. 1 3/16 outside diameter of the exterior portion, that would be accurate. 3/4 on the inside. Yeah, that'd be accurate as well. Okay. Now, the item is available in lots of different finishes. Polished brass, lifetime brass. Polished brass will have a lacquer on the bezel. Lifetime brass will be a amalgamation of the brass material infused with foreign items that classify it as lifetime, meaning the ability of the polished brass to not fatigue and fail with time is significantly improved. I think to the point where they say it's the lifetime and they give a guarantee on that polished brass finish. Doesn't look polished brass to the trained eye. It certainly doesn't look like polished brass on a brass-based material. You can kind of tell it's a lifetime brass, but not if you're the average hardware person, homeowner. If you have an exterior door and you want polished brass, I would urge you to do the lifetime. Antique brass, US 5, US 10B for oil rub bronze, US 15 for satin nickel, US 15A for antique nickel, US 19 for black, US 26 for polished chrome, US 26D for satin chrome. Now let's investigate whether or not it's possible that this is fire rated. I'm pulling up the manufacturer's catalog so that we can review it. The bottom line is this. The 55211 is not listed for use on fire-rated doors. If you want the 55211 to be UL listed, you will order it -UL listed. Still made of brass. Now the difference is going to be, the tip-off really should have been to me immediately, is that there is no label indicating that it is approved and listed for use on a fire-rated door. This does not have it. If you have a door viewer and you're installing it on a fire-rated door, it will absolutely have to have proof attached to the barrel that it is. The UL listed unit might start out life physically identical to this, but certainly the packaging will indicate UL listed, which this does, but it will have evidence of it so that a fire door assembly inspector inspecting the opening would be able, or the authority having jurisdiction would be able to remove that from the door, visually confirm that it's listed for use on a fire-rated door, and then find the door in compliance, at least for this portion. This could be the identical viewer, but it's not, because it's not physically listed with the appropriate documentation. It very likely could be that they did send us UL listed, but they did not take the time to put the label on the outside. I'm going to cut this box open and see if they literally mixed and matched. Oh, they did. They absolutely did. Oh, for sure they did. So what the factory sent us, my client ordered non-UL listed. Okay. We've got different packaging here. UL listed. This is the one I pulled out to show you. And as indicated earlier, it's got a physical label applied to it that shows it's UL listed. So the vendor made an unauthorized substitution on this. It's not a problem, and I'm not going to bring it to my client's attention only because there's literally no physical difference between this viewer and the other one. It will work identically in all regards. The only difference is the box says UL and the label is applied to the outside perimeter of the unit itself. So no cause for concern, but the mystery has been discovered. They do have two options, a non-UL and then a UL version. So be mindful of that. If you have a fire-rated door, absolutely order the UL version. Now, let's talk about installation. The installation aspect of this hardware is simple and straightforward. However, it does take a bit of finesse and skill to install this material in such a way that you don't run the risk of it going really wrong. Here's what I mean. Obviously, locate the height at which you're going to mount this. If we're dealing with a handicap-compliant opening, be sure that you're not running afoul of the dimension from the floor to the center of the unit. I can give you an idea of what that is. I simply don't remember. I'm going to say it's somewhere between 34 and 43 inch. Okay, so if you're installing it at an ADA accessible, you're going to be 43 inch maximum above the finished floor. If you're doing a standard installation, you're going to be at 60 inch. But if it's not an application that's going to be inspected and have to be found compliant with ANSI 117 or the federal 117 code for handicap compliance, put it wherever you want. 60 inch is a good rule of thumb. You'll see 5 foot off the floor to the center line. But if you have family members that are short, you might want to consider where you're going to place that. I have seen doors with 2 viewers in them because grandma moved in and now she really needs a lower viewer. The point I was driving at earlier is I showed you that this was 3/4 and that this was basically 19/32, just heavy on 9/16. They say that it's 5/8, and it's almost 5/8. It's not quite. The point of the matter is you've got just about 1/8 of an inch between this and this, which means you don't have a lot of play to really muck the hole up when your drill bit hits it and tear that wood veneer out, assuming it's wood. You want to be really mindful of that. In fact, you'll probably, in my opinion, want to use a bit that will score the hole first. You can You know, a Forstner bit will very cleanly cut your hole. The bottoming style Forstner bit. There are fly bits that have those wing cutters that I find to be incredibly effective at scoring the outside of it before you go in. But if you just hit that with a drill bit, you have the tendency, especially you have the exposure to risk, especially of open grain woods like red oak, like any oak, to tear all that out. And I've seen people install this material and run that bit in and just explode the veneer out. And there's no way to fix that because you've got such small margin between these two areas. Obviously, on the other side, it's not so bad. You know, you've got that 1 3/16, you've got that basically almost 5/8 body, lots of room if you tear the veneer, but you certainly don't want to damage the door at all. So be mindful to cut that cleanly. Now, drilling the hole also, where will you locate it? We talked about the height, but now what about the width? Well, obviously in the center of the door, unless there's some reason to put it elsewhere. But the point is, you'll want to be mindful. If the door is square edge, well, you can measure on either side of the door, and it will come back the same dimension. But if your door is beveled, be mindful that if you measure on the push side of the door, what we would call the small side of the door, and you take that same dimension and transfer it to the pull side of the door, which is the big side of the door, that bevel is 1/8 of an inch for every 2 inches in thickness, so it's almost 1/8 of an inch. So the door is really going to be almost a 1/4 inch wider on the outside than it is on the inside, but closer to 3/16. But when you have very little margin to play with, you need to compensate for what you're doing in terms of that measuring if you have a beveled door. What I'll do is I will measure from one side, the large side, the wide side, and because it's easier to measure on hooking your tape measure on an outside. Go to the center of the door. I'll take an 1/8 inch, 6 inch jobbers, and I'll drill straight through. And now I'm going to mark my hole. And I'm good at drilling straight through, and you'll want that to be very straight. And it'll mark the hole. It'll save you the trouble. However you do it, you do it. I don't really see a need to measure on both sides of the door, but be mindful if you do. If it's beveled, you'll need to compensate for that. What is most likely, and for every 2 inches in thickness, that bevel is what's actually 3 degree, but the difference from here to here is 1/8 of an inch. So be mindful of that. For 2 inches in thickness, obviously if it's 1 3/4, you're dealing with something a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch. So that covers my concerns about not drilling it correctly and damaging the door, the different finishes. We talked about the 2 different models of this item that are indeed available. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Deltana products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Deltana 55211 door viewer or any other Deltana product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you very much.